Welcome to the Credit Restoration Consultants Hour with credit restoration experts Bill Lewis. With offices located in Sunrise, Florida, Credit Restoration Consultants is a credit service organization specializing in the restoration of consumer credit worthiness and identity theft. Join Bill and his guests Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to learn how you can stop threatening creditor calls, take control of your credit problems, and increase your credit score. If you have questions about your credit, contact CRC at 954-581-5050. That's 954-581-5050. Or go online to talkaboutcredit.com. Your comments and questions are welcome during today's show. Call us live on the air. From Boca, Deerfield, and Delray, dial 988-5470. And from all other areas, call toll-free, 888-565-1470. And now, here's Bill Lewis.
And good morning, South Florida. Yes, it is President's Day 2008. Unlike those before me who think it's Columbus Day is in October. No, this is February. At least it's still February, and it's President's Day 2008. And this morning, live in the studio, I have with me Lori Parrish, the Broward County Property Appraiser. Good morning, Lori. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Hey, so far so good. It's President's Day. You know, it's a holiday, and actually last week when we talked about coming on, I had forgotten that it was President's Day. I had forgotten it was a holiday, and I thought maybe you're going to have the day off. But in speaking to Pam on Friday, I found out the Property Appraiser's office is open today.
Right, we do that. Our employees get to make a lot of decisions in our office, and so they chose to take an extra day off after Christmas so that they could be with their families as opposed to being off on President's Day. And I said, sure, that's fine. So we work President's Day.
But your office is actually open at 7 o'clock in the morning versus most offices or governmental entities that open at 8:30 or 9.
We do 3 shifts so that our main office downtown opens at 7 a.m. and closes at 6 p.m. And we do that because many people are employed in the downtown or live in the area, so we think, you know, they can stop in before they go to work or come in after work, because most people work 8:30 to 5, so we make sure we're open a little before and a little after.
Yeah, but I also find out you're open on Saturdays, too.
We're open 5 Saturdays a year. What we do is, during the busiest times of the year, one is next Saturday. It's always the Saturday before March 1st. And then also after we send out the trim notices in August. And then right before it's the last day to appeal for a value adjustment board, we open on Saturdays. And what we do is it's very slow between Christmas and New Year's. So as a result, you know, we're all there. People are having to make special arrangements for their children because schools are closed. So our staff, we had our own little online poll, and we voted and wouldn't let you vote twice. And we chose to work Saturdays and then instead take off between Christmas and New Year's. So we shut down we work the Friday before Christmas, and then we return to work, you know, depending on how, I think this year New Year's falls on a Friday or something, so we'll come to work on Monday, because we had 3 days. We had Christmas and New Year's and then President's Day, and then we work enough Saturdays. And when it's not busy, we don't cost the government any money, and our employees get to save money by staying home with their children, not having to get grandma and grandpa or make special arrangements. So it works out for all of us.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong business. Are you hiring over there?
Sure. Yeah, well, no, actually, we've got a hiring freeze right now.
Oh, that's
because with the cutbacks, we want to make sure that, you know, my first obligation is to protect my existing employees for budget reduction. So we did that last year, too. I put a hiring freeze on, and then when we cut our budget 10%, we didn't have to let go any of our employees. We just transferred some folks around and you made it up with the vacancies.
But that's interesting, though, being able to be open at 7 in the morning, you know, clear through 6 o'clock at night, 5 Saturdays a year, and be able to, you know, allow the staff to vote on that there. That's very, very interesting. So you said only 1 vote per person, so it wasn't like some of the primaries.
Yeah, they can't keep dialing in and voting again.
No. For early vote often, huh? Mm. Well, actually, you know, the reason we're talking today, obviously, is that on January 29th, you know, the Florida voters overwhelmingly approved Amendment 1 here.
I was excited. Thanks for your help. 71% in Broward.
71%. But, you know, you actually made the rounds. I mean, no matter where I went out there, I seen Charlie Crist, and, you know, lo and behold, I see Lori Parrish there. What gives?
Well, what happened was I was a big supporter of portability and have been for 7 years. And I felt like, while I didn't agree with all of Amendment 1 and certainly didn't think it was solved every problem that was out there, it was a good start. It was a good beginning, and it had portability, which I knew our residents needed and wanted. When the governor also campaigned on the second Homestead exemption and said he was pro-portability. So the governor was delivering on his promise. And the governor's an R and I'm a D. So when they...
But that did make a difference to you? Because
No. So what happened was so many local officials were opposing the amendment. And here was me out there trying to champion and explain it to people and say this is good for you and why. That his office called. Todd Wilder, who used to work here in Broward County, was involved with the firm that did the public awareness for Amendment 1. And so Todd called me and asked would I talk to the governor about it. And I said, yeah. And so the governor asked, would I help him campaign? So I said, sure. So I first flew to Orlando because what we wanted to show is it wasn't a Democratic or Republican issue. It was about the people of Florida and their right.
Well, let's talk about Amendment 1. Obviously, what exactly is an Amendment 1? What is the difference and what is going to help those individuals? Because there's still a lot of disinformation out there, even though, Amendment 1 has passed. There's talk, there's actually articles in the newspaper recently that says, well, notwithstanding this, we're going to raise our, city or our town taxes. School board's not covered. I mean, let's clear up a little confusion.
Okay, the first thing it does is the second homestead exemption of $25,000. But you could almost figure it like it's almost like about $17,500 because it excludes the school board portion of your tax bill. So for the average homeowner in Broward County with Homestead, it means a saving of $308.72. However, that's not exact. You and I looked up our own homes earlier, and that's not an exact number. If anyone wants to find out about how much they'll save, they should just go to our website at www.bcpa.net.
Well, actually, your website does it all for you. You can actually go in,
look up your property, and click, I think it's the second one, it's New Tax Estimator, and it will tell you approximately how much your taxes would be in November, and then you go look at your old amount and you know how much you'll save.
Well, one of the key things I've seen out there is there are a lot of people that were going out to reapply for Homestead, and this is one of the points that you have highlighted on your website is that you do not need to reapply. If you already have Homestead exemption, something that's already in place, the Broward County Property Appraiser's Office is going to factor that in automatically for you.
It's automatic. You do not need to apply. In fact, you and I were talking this morning, it's flashing, going important, and doing in red. It's not necessary. In fact, if you look up your own property record, we've already posted the amount of your second homestead exemption. And the one thing I want to remind everybody, and we talked about this before, is this is not like the traditional one. It's not the second $25,000. What this is it's you must have an assessed value of $50,000 or more to receive the full benefit.
Because right, but that includes everybody. I mean, who's under 50? I mean, except somebody that's lived in Century Village for the last 30 years.
There are some areas where people have bought their homes in the 60s for modest amounts, been in the same home. Sabre Homes passed in 1992 but wasn't implemented in 95. So there are a good number of properties that are below that number.
All right, so basically it's the first $25,000, skip the second $25,000, move on to the third $25,000. So it starts at $50,000,
right, and say your home was assessed at $58,630. Then you would only get the second exemption on $8,630. It's just the portion over $50,000 up to $75,000.
Now, right now, I know the Florida Department of Revenue is working and drafting additional guidelines.
Now, that's an oxymoron.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of that agency.
Well, I know they're working on procedures right now to implement the rest of the plan, but locally, we talked about approximately $308, $309
locally, it's about $300. If you do countywide average, it's about $308.72. And I don't know if you saw, I think it was Friday or Saturday's paper, a bit of controversy in Palm Beach County, because that property appraiser wrote to the Department of Revenue and the legislature and the governor and said with the recapture rate, people weren't going to get the full benefit.
Well, actually, in all fairness, I invited the Palm Beach County Property Appraiser to come on this morning, and I've not even received a return call from their office.
Okay. You don't have that one's portable number? No, but in Broward, the average is $308.72, but we factored in 3% increase in the Sabre Homes so that people would get the real amount.
All right, so the real amount actually is factored in. Somebody can go on your website at www.bcpa, which is Broward County Property Appraiser.net, and be able to actually just pull everything up and pull it up immediately. So, I mean, Correct. It's a very user-friendly site, and obviously on the front page, it's a lot different than Bill Markham's days. I mean, actually, you have a website now, so something that's interactive.
Well, they had one. They just didn't have any emails or personal computers or things.
What exactly were you able to do with that website when you moved in? I mean, it was sort of like...
Well, what happened, we didn't have a real IT department. So
A real one or one at all?
we didn't have one. We had consultants. We had a pretty good GIS maps and aerials, but we didn't have an IT department. So we started building one. And now that, in fact, one of our employees, Steve Robbie, who used to be a Fort Lauderdale police officer, is one of our investigators with Ron Cacciatore. And Steve said when he worked for the city of Fort Lauderdale, he used to call the IT department, when, well, I think he said hell would freeze over before anybody came out. He said he can't believe you log in and send him an email and somebody's walking over in 15 minutes. We have a great staff.
Well, with you cracking the whip over there, I'm sure they're very,
but I'm really lucky. I have great people.
Now, obviously, we're getting ready to go to a break in a minute, but if an individual wanted to go to your website and they're still concerned or they have a lack of understanding after, this very simple explanation of portability, what it means for you, and be able to go on and, even utilize the estimated tax calculator there, how can they contact your office? How can they email you and have one of your representatives return a call?
If you want to email somebody, if you do info Broward or if you do LORI at bcpa.net, I answer all those emails, and I answer them on weekends and holidays and at night. So unless I'm like here at your radio station, I answer them promptly. So they can just email me, or if they want to call our customer service office, 954-357-6830, and our employees will be glad to answer all their questions.
So if they email Lori at bcpa.net, automatically Lori, are going to respond. It's not one of your underlings?
No, it's me. I write my own things.
Interesting. All right.
Typos and all.
It's President's Day 2008. In the studio this morning is Lori Parrish, Broward County Property Appraiser. Got any questions, comments, complaints, concerns? Give us a ring, 888-565-1470. Once again, it's 888-565-1470. Got a question for one of my office staff. Give us a call at 954-581-5050. Be right back.
What's the most important thing in your life? Your health? Your family? What about your credit? Having good credit can mean the difference between enjoying life and living a constant nightmare. Get on the road to financial freedom today. Go to the Credit Restoration Consultants website at talkaboutcredit.com. At talkaboutcredit.com, you'll see how CRC can help restore your credit today. You can check your credit score. You can apply for new credit cards even if you've had credit problems. Plus, you'll get a ton of must-have information about how your credit score affects you. Learn more about credit scores and how they affect your ability to obtain premium rates on that new car, home, or refinance. Got a problem with 20% interest rates on your credit cards? Go to talkaboutcredit.com. Learn how to interpret credit scores and correct any problems. Plus, you can order your 3-in-1 credit report directly from CRC without a hard-hit inquiry. Check out the Credit Restoration Consultants website at talkaboutcredit.com. That's talkaboutcredit.com. Or call 954-581-5050. That's 954-581-5050. You are listening to the Credit Restoration Consultants Hour with your host, Bill Lewis. If you have any questions about today's program, call us live on the air. From Boca, Deerfield, and Delray, dial 988-5470. That's 988-5470. And from all other areas, call toll-free, 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470. Now, once again, here's Bill Lewis.
All right, President's Day 2008. Remember, you can hear the Credit Restoration Consultants out on the 9s, both 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., Monday through Friday here on 1470 WWNN. Got any questions, comments, complaints, or concerns? Obviously, I have my guest this morning, Lori Parrish, property appraiser of Broward County. I invited the Palm Beach County property appraiser on, and no, actually, I didn't even receive a phone call. But what's so interesting, obviously, you call their information department, their press department, and you leave a message for them. Tell them, listen, I'm having your counterpart in Broward County on the show on Monday concerning Amendment 1 and the vast opposing views here. You don't even get the respect of a return phone call. If anything, just to say, screw you, we're not interested. I mean, it's much, it was very easy to get in touch with you because obviously, we've spoken in the past. I've dealt with you on the board of directors of the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber, whereby you've been my guest for the West End Business Council breakfast in the past. And I believe we have you scheduled for April 9th of this year. So, we can always put 300 people in the room to ask questions of the Broward property appraiser. And this year, it'll actually be a much more interesting. I don't want to say last year was boring, but it'll be much more interesting.
Last year, remember, Eric had just sued the mayor.
That was interesting. I didn't think, and what was so different is that everybody knew that I really didn't agree with Eric's view of suing the governor personally, saying as though I worked on the governor's campaign to become governor and fundraise for him. But everybody was surprised that I gave him the opportunity to get up and speak at all these breakfasts. And I said, listen, I'm on the board of directors. I'm in charge of the networking groups. I'm in charge of the networking committee in staging these breakfasts. I can't really say no to anyone. I mean, I can be personally opposed to something or personally not like something, but that doesn't mean that I can't separate personal from business.
Well, but I think that Eric...
And I was surprised he won, though.
I wasn't, because I think it was confusing. Mm-hmm. Because his point was they were taking Saver Homes away. But it wasn't a suit against the governor, per se. It was just...
Well, he's the title officer of the state, so...
That's how you had to do it. But, I mean, Eric was right, and it actually would have hurt 57% of the property owners in Broward County.
Well, with the new Amendment 1, obviously, on January 29th, Broward County, 71%
Isn't that
in
great?
favor.
Isn't that great?
I mean, I voted obviously in favor of it, but
Thank you.
In talking about this, I mean, obviously portability of savings. What exactly does it mean? Because we talk about Save Our Homes in the past, and a lot of individuals out there that said, wait a second, Amendment 1, we're going to lose Save Our Homes. I mean, even other hosts on this radio station have come out and said that, and I've had to correct them countless times. And
Amendment 1 had nothing to do with Save Our Homes. You would have had Save Our Homes if Amendment 1 failed, or Save Our Homes if Amendment 1 passed. But what Amendment 1 did with Save Our Homes, for those folks who choose to, is if you go on our website and you look at your trim notice, the difference between your 2007 Save Our Homes value and your 2007 just value, or by June 1st we'll have the 08, the difference between those two numbers is your Save Our Homes value, or is portability. And now you can take it with you. You can buy a new home, and when you buy your new home and apply for Homestead, you check that you had Homestead on a previous home, and if you buy your new home within 2 years of selling your old home, you can take your Save Our Homes value with you. You can take all of it up to $500,000 if you upsize, and you can take a portion of it up to $500,000 if you downsize. The other nice thing is it was retroactive back to January 1st, 2007. So we've already had over 600 Floridians apply for portability. Some of them moved from Broward to Broward, some from Broward to Dade. Believe it or not, we had a surprising about 3 dozen that moved from Broward to Lake County. But
that doesn't surprise me. My wife and I own quite a bit of property in Highlands County, and it's like
we've had about 15, 20 from Highlands, some from St. John, some from Flagler, but a goodly number. I noticed the most that were out of town. You would thought it would be Palm Beach or Dade, but it was Lake County.
They're trying to get as far away from here as possible, I see, huh?
I don't know. I grew up here. I love it. I don't.
Well, Highlands County, Lake County, obviously those two counties border each other, but, we're only talking about, an hour and a half drive if you were to take 27, so it's a 180-degree difference from here. When we go to our home up in Lake Placid in the Sebring area, everything closes at 6 o'clock. They roll in the rugs, and if it's the weekend, the idea of nightclub, that ends at like 10 o'clock. A place called, similar to like a beer barn type place. So it's like totally...
I'm not much at my age. I'm not much for nightclubs, so I mean, I wouldn't know the difference.
Well, let me ask you, we talked about this before the show this morning. Portability, though. What happens, though, if I have this house, but I have some issues with it or whatever, and I can't afford it, but now I just go out and I rent a place, and then I decide now to go out and purchase a new one. My credit's straightened out, my situation's different, I'm able to sell the old home, but I'm a renter at the same time I'm an owner.
Okay, that's a problem, because a lot of people, and it's the number one question I'm asked, a lot of people think they have to sell their existing home before they can buy a new one and take portability. You do not have to do that. You can buy a new home and take your portability to the new home and rent your existing home.
So in other words, I can be an owner of 2 properties.
Correct. But what you can't do is you can't rent your home, your existing home, and give up your homestead and then rent for a couple of years and then buy a house. You can't do that because you can't abandon your homestead until you purchase the new property. So you can purchase a new property, apply for homestead and portability on the new home, and then go rent.
So it has to be a continuous change. So in other words, if I own the home, but I decide to rent it out and I'm living someplace and now all of a sudden I move somewhere else.
You can't do that. Okay. You must keep the homestead. You can never lose homestead. So you have to have it on your existing home, buy a new place, move to the new place, and transfer the homestead, and then rent the first home.
And then at that point, of course, now I've transferred the homestead. I have the new homestead in place, as well as my portability up to X number of
Correct.
hours. Now, the old home, obviously, then I'll be assessed at whatever the natural value is from
Right.
that point on.
You would look at what you can always figure it go to the just value as opposed to the Saver Homes value on the website.
Now, speaking of the just value, we talk about just value, and obviously the numbers are coming down.
Correct.
The numbers on Save Our Homes, obviously the 3% cap per year, those numbers keep going up. The appraised values, the values of the home, with the economy the way it is, the credit crunch, is coming down. At what point are those going to meet, or at what point can I go to your value adjustment board and say, hey, wait a second?
Well, first of all, you can always try us. If we've made a mistake, we apologize and correct it. If we're correct, we believe we're correct, we act like ladies and gentlemen and defend it. But see, the just values are falling in many areas of Broward County, but they're not falling significantly enough to stop the 3% cap, to keep all homesteaded properties, the state notifies in January, have gone up 3%. So in order for it to have any impact on your taxes, the just value would have to drop to the Save Our Homes value with the 3% cap. Like if people want to check, and I always just tell them, look up mine. In my case, in order, my Save Our Homes value and my assessed value for taxable purpose increased 3%. And if you look at my just value would have to drop, because I've lived in my home over 10 years, $374,000 to have any impact on taxes. So even though just values will be reduced, it won't, in most cases, impact that 3% increase.
So the two numbers should actually never meet.
Well, they might. For the only people that may be impacted, Bill, are some of those families that bought in the height of the feeding frenzy in 2005.
And most of those
in
individuals.
2006, they may see a slight reduction.
All right, so those individuals obviously are also having a problem because, sometimes their home is worth less than they owe on it.
Right.
And that creates a problem later on. Now, so when would they see that? Is it next year? Is it this year?
No, it's this year. The new portability is effective retroactively to January 1st, 2007. The new homestead exemption is for this year and is already posted on our website if people want to check. What is not until next year is the 10% cap on non-homesteaded properties and commercial properties. 2008 is the base year, and then that goes into effect until 2009. The other thing for tangible personal property owners like yourself, what you need to do is they need to fill out their return and sign it, because when we've sent them their return, and when they fill it out, sign it and date it and get it back to us, that we can consider as their application for the $25,000 exemption.
Well, I understand, because obviously it costs you a lot more money to investigate these individuals, investigate the businesses, keep it up to date. So the $25,000, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean if all the equipment in my business is worth less than or equal to $25,000, I have no tangible property tax?
First of all, it's double taxation. I philosophically disagree with it. You paid sales tax when you bought all this equipment.
Why?
So
some of it was on eBay, though, I think.
Well, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Why should you pay again?
I know, I understand.
And the other thing is, it's not cost effective. It costs taxpayers far more to fund our budget for those appraisers and their benefits, and 50.5 cents per every mile they drive, and a telephone and a computer and a camera. So it's really not cost effective. So actually, we hope we'll probably cut our budget by about $5.7 million here in Broward County.
Speaking of the effectiveness of your office, I spoke to a gentleman named Ed McDonald or O'Donnell last week. McDonald or O'Donnell? I got it written down here. Gentleman in your office, actually, we had moved from Davie to Sunrise here, and he was just wanting us to correct the address and stuff because he was out here walking through the complex last week, and he'd left a message for me through one of my office staff, and I had to give him a call. And he's like, "No, I just need you to change the address." And I said, "Do I owe you any money?" And he said, "What do you mean? That's a different department." I said, "I just want to check to make sure you're not making a bill collection call, because I get these bills every year for like $26 and change, and then we try to send them off as soon as possible. But do I owe you any money? Because I know we moved, and you never know who."
See, we don't love your collect taxes. That's revenue collection.
Mm-hmm.
But our assessments have a great impact on the amount of money you pay. But like some people are paying an accountant $150 to fill out a tax return for TPP to pay $26 or $5.08 or $19.11.
But that's all gone now.
Right. But they need to sign their return and date it and mail it to us, because the signature on the return, we're going to consider their application.
All right, can that be done online?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But our tangible personal property department is online and on a new CAM assistant, and we will shortly put it all up.
All right, so if they're able to actually submit your application, not online but in writing, it's the
Well, but what they could do, you can sign it, scan it, and email it to us, or you can fax it to us.
And once that's done, obviously that will be taken care of in the future. You should
Right, and we're fixing to go into complete online. We got permission from the Department of Revenue to go to an online signature, so you'll no longer, within the next couple of weeks, hopefully, we're trying it right now. You'll no longer have to print and sign your homestead application.
So the automation of your office is actually getting a lot better. But I guess how do you get the driver's license and stuff, the proof of identity in?
Oh, what we do is when you type it in, we went to the Division of Highway and Motor Vehicles and ask them for a view only. So when you type it in, I simply click and your driver's license verifies with your address. We went to the supervisor of election who initially had to buy it. I bought the voters and our staff install it, but now she gives us the updates. We go in and click on the number and the date. If it verifies, it will if it doesn't, we send you a letter and an email telling you, hey, Bill, you need to change your address on your driver's license or voter's registration.
All right, President's Day 2008, Lori Parrish, Broward County Property Appraiser, in the office today. Lori, your number at work, somebody wants to contact you concerning...
My number, if you want to call my office directly, call 954-357-6904. If you have a routine question for customer service, it's 954-357-6830.
And our number in the studio, 888-565-1470. Be right back.
Libation, the Love of Wine, presents the second annual Dan Marino Weston Wine and Food Festival on Sunday, March 2nd at the Waterway Shops in Weston. Mingle with legendary athletes and celebrities and indulge in a full menu of culinary entertainment, exploring emerging wine and food trends from all over South Florida. It's a day you won't want to miss. The second annual Dan Marino Weston Wine and Food Festival, presented by Libation, the Love of Wine. For information, go online to danmarinowineandfoodfestival.com. That's danmarinowineandfoodfestival.com. Or call 954-384-WINE. That's 954-384-WINE. It's the creme de la creme for food and wine enthusiasts from all over South Florida. The second annual Dan Marino Weston Wine and Food Festival on Sunday, March 2nd. Don't miss it. Call 954-384-WINE or go online, danmarinowineandfoodfestival.com. That's danmarinowineandfoodfestival.com. What's the most important thing in your life? Your health? Your family? What about your credit? Having good credit can mean the difference between enjoying life and living a constant nightmare. Get on the road to financial freedom today. Go to the Credit Restoration Consultants website at talkaboutcredit.com. At talkaboutcredit.com, you'll see how CRC can help restore your credit today. You can check your credit score. You can apply for new credit cards even if you've had credit problems. Plus, you'll get a ton of must-have information about how your credit score affects you. Learn more about credit scores and how they affect your ability to obtain premium rates on that new car, home, or refinance. Got a problem with 20% interest rates on your credit cards? Go to talkaboutcredit.com. Learn how to interpret credit scores and correct any problems. Plus, you can order your 3-in-1 credit report directly from CRC without a hard-hit inquiry. Check out the Credit Restoration Consultants website at talkaboutcredit.com. That's talkaboutcredit.com. Or call 954-581-5050. That's 954-581-5050. You are listening to the Credit Restoration Consultants Hour with your host, Bill Lewis. If you have any questions about today's program, call us live on the air. From Boca, Deerfield, and Delray, dial 988-5470. That's 988-5470. And from all other areas, call toll-free, 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470. Now, once again, here's Bill Lewis.
All right, President's Day 2008. Welcome back. Lori Parrish. You know, Lori Parrish is our Broward County Property Appraiser here, doing such a wonderful job over there. since Bill Markham departed us. I wonder where he's at these days. I mean, I see the skies haven't really opened up upon us today, and it's getting ready to rain. So I wonder if that's an inclination of
the sky didn't fall in.
But we do actually have a call out there, and it is President's Day, so we really don't get a lot of calls on the holidays there. And I talked to you last week about coming on. I spoke to Pam over there, your able assistant, and on Friday I said to myself, I forgot it was President's Day. But and I gave you the opportunity to bow out, but you're like, no, I don't have any problem coming in. I mean, I want to be able to provide the information to those individuals here in Broward County to assist them and to navigate their way not only through the changes in Amendment 1, but also the website and the constant updates at bcpa.net. But you know something? We got Doris on the line. You don't know Doris, Lori, but Doris is one of those intermittent callers who sometimes is aggravating. Good morning, Doris. How are you?
Good morning. And, Bill, I keep telling you, the reason people don't call in is because your shows are so interesting. Who would want to call in and break in on Lori explaining this whole situation? And, Lori, I called in because of you. Maybe you don't remember me. Doris Connolly, I used to come to every school board meeting, and you were always so kind.
Oh, I remember you, Doris. You lived in Hallandale?
I know, up here in Margate.
Oh, in Margate. Right,
yes.
Right. I think
but
you had blonde hair?
No, I'm a blonde, a little old lady. I was the one that came in and didn't want Halloween anymore. I said, why should I have a witch? I said, I'm a Roman Catholic. Why should I have a 3-foot witch on my refrigerator?
Well, I'm a Roman Catholic, and I don't mind witches, pink ones, white ones, black ones.
I know, that's what you said. You said, my daughter loves the home.
Listen, and I'm Catholic, and I don't mind witches either. I'm married to one, but... bad. Jennifer does not listen to the show.
But, Lori, you always were so wonderful. I came to commission meetings fighting for the homeless, and you were the one person that always was kind. You were always interested in the subject, and you were always very knowledgeable in everything you spoke about.
So what do we owe this pleasure to this morning besides self-promotion of Doris?
No, I want to tell Lori.
She's calling and being nice. Thank you, Doris. I think that's very sweet. And happy President's Day to you.
I don't go to the meetings anymore, so I wanted this opportunity and I noticed you gave your phone number out, so I'm going to take advantage of that and just call you and tell you how I've been praying for you.
Well, thanks, but make sure you wait till I get back there, because I'm at Bill's radio station right now.
Oh, I won't call you today, because I know you're going to be busy with other people calling in.
Well, but those 13 or 14 listeners I have, Doris.
Would you, Laurie?
She doesn't
Pardon?
Stop. Would you give Bill a kiss from me?
I will.
He's so
just
far
did.
Out of town. Okay?
Okay.
You. God bless you, Lori. God bless you.
Thank you, Doris.
This is the one lady. This is the one lady who picketed an event. I mean, I'm the one fundraiser for the governor of the state of Florida who got picketed. And Doris here, like 2-3 hours before the event that my wife and I had out in Pembroke Pines, she's out there in the pouring rain. We're talking about pouring rain. Okay, and FDLE is calling on the phone, and everything. I'm in the shower. My wife picks up and says it was important. I said, look, I'm in the shower. What is it? Says,
Aren't you allowed to picket?
You are allowed to picket, but it was
I'm a product of the 60s. Some of my best times were picketing things.
But the fact was I was like the only one. Why did I have to be the only one, though? I mean, Doris is standing out there on Pines, and I think it's like
and she's retired and elderly, and she drove a long way from Margate. I think that it means you've come at some station in life to be picketed. I mean...
Well, yeah, it's great. I mean, but, I'm like,
even if a little retired lady.
Yeah, but you have to wait till the candidate shows up first because you want to sure. But, but what was kind of funny, though, was that because, when I spoke to Charlie Crist at the time when he was Attorney General running for governor, and we threw the event, and they were there, and they had a concern. He's like, listen, what's the deal? And I talked to her. He said, well, invite her inside. Let me talk to her. All these views that she has, let me talk to her. Let me address it. And Doris didn't want to come in. But, Doris is one of these perennial listeners out there, which I'm sure, in the... equation I talked about earlier, the homestead exemption, she's probably one of these ones that has this home since the 60s, that is probably worth like $58,000, as far as the numbers go at bcpa.net. So she probably is going to reap some benefit, but not as much benefit as if she moved to, our neighborhood, Davie, Cooper City, Weston. Maybe we can convert her, at this day and age. She can, move from Margate. But
remember, Doris didn't like Halloween in public schools. And, but I mean, this was back, almost 25 years ago. But I remember my daughter didn't want to be anything scary, so I had to make her a pink good witch costume. It's the only witch's hat I've ever made. It took me 2 days. It is my first and last attempt, but my granddaughter wore it.
That's always good. My daughter's grandmother, actually enjoys making the Halloween outfits and everything, and I actually took our daughter trick-or-treating 40 days after she was born. 40 days, which was actually just a couple weeks after Hurricane Wilma. Took her trick-or-treating, and she went as an angel, and all the neighbors remembered me carrying her through the area. But coming back from Hawaii last week, my wife and I purchased a bunch of things for her, in Chinatown. So this year she could go as one of these particular. I'm just trying to think of the name of these outfits, but they get these outfits and everything.
With the pajamas and stuff and the obi.
Yeah, they look like a Geisha girl type outfits, whatever. I mean, maybe that's inappropriate, but those type of outfits. But you can always tell, they're Oriental in nature. So maybe I could get her those little slanted eye glasses and one of those little hats, that she can wear, and we can go through the neighborhood trick or treating because all the neighbors just love her.
Oh yeah, our neighbors, they bring around them. We don't have that many anymore, but Jeff and I enjoy seeing the kids, even the little ones.
Well, they just come knocking on the door, and I remember, before my wife and I did weight loss surgery a few years ago, as fat as we were, we'd sit there and give out the full-size candy bars. The kids would come, and like the following year, we had already done weight loss surgery. I'd lost like 100 and some odd pounds. Looking for the picture around here, I don't know where it's at, but the kids would come to the door and like, oh, you guys just move in? Like, no, why? He says, the people that were here last year used to give the same thing you give, full-size candy bars. I says, no, we're the same people. And then, no, you're not. You'd have to show them the pictures, but that was so cool. So, we get the kids. I think we only get like 50 or 60 kids on trick-or-treat now, but you suppose that the demise of Halloween was due to Dolores here, or Doris, actually?
No, I think the demise of Halloween is just because a lot of parents are concerned, and I wouldn't want to take my grandchildren except to a house we knew. You want to make sure you know the neighbors. And the other thing, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it.
You
but
can say what you want to say on the show.
Well,
if someone doesn't like it,
Flamingo. One of our neighbors goes to Flamingo Road Church,
right,
and they have trunk or treat,
right,
and it was huge. Like they screen the people that decorate their trunks or the back of their SUVs or trucks, and then they give them all the candy because the church members donate the candy. They screen the candy, and they give them the candy to hand out, and then the kids go up and down the aisles. They did it 2 or 3 years. It was a huge success, but it was so successful that they had to cancel it. But I noticed that there are a lot of shopping centers, a lot of areas that are doing their own thing so the kids won't be out at night. And I live in the ranches, and we have no street lights. So a lot of people bring golf carts, kids have flashlights. But it's still nice. There's just 32 houses in our neighborhood.
No, it is. It's kind of like, when I was a kid, you used to hit every house everywhere and get these bags of candy and stuff like that. Now my neighbors...
We never got... I heard all the war stories, razor blades and apples, and we never had any of that stuff.
I've never once seen that. And
Me neither. I think it's like the lady, I don't know how, I'm 59, but in the 60s, there was always the woman that put her hair in a French twist and didn't take it down, and the roach bugs went to live in it. I think those are just not real stories.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've never heard. I've never once in trick-or-treating myself, or never once in hearing. None of my friends, I've never heard this from anybody I know, razor blade and apple. Now, obviously, if I got an apple for the kid, I would throw it out, so I've never really cut it open to check. The unopened candy, I've never really seen that. Occasionally, you see candy in the, in the bag that's open, but then you see the empty wrapper, so it must have fell out or something happened. That goes in the trash. But I've never seen anything that created any stir for me. And, in talking to my daughter last year when she went to Halloween, she's only 2, so she's finally understanding the concept of the holidays. It's like, look, this is how it works. We inspect it. There's 1 for you, 2 for me, 1 for you. And, this year
I always like keeping the things with caramel, nuts, and chocolate.
She likes M&M's. She calls them yum-yums.
Yeah.
But, talking about today, Amendment 1, let's get back on track there because all this talking of Halloween and candy is making me hungry. And I don't have any candy in the office here. It's actually gone. But, doubling the homestead exemption, obviously, primary homeowners are going to be entitled to $50,000. That's basically out of your first $75,000 in value.
Correct.
So to get this correct here, the first $25,000 has always been covered.
Right. And this skips the next 25 from $25,001 to $50,000. So this new homestead exemption applies to $50,001 to $75,000.
All right, so basically $50,000.
And it excludes school board taxes.
How much will that mean in the long run? Everybody says, exclude school board taxes. How much of a bite is that going to take?
You mean for governments?
Yeah, is that about out of the $25,000 we talked earlier about being $17,500 to $18,000? So the effective exemption
is about $17,500.
Okay, so essentially
school board is about it's 36%.
Okay, so basically roughly
of your tax dollar.
Okay, so essentially we're covered then $17,500 of that third 25. the Save Our Homes here, that tax protection that's been around for as long as I can remember, and I'm not as old as you. It's portable for homeowners who want to, move to a new primary residence, as long as they didn't abandon in the interim their old residence.
Right.
Okay. $25,000 tax break on tangible personal property for businesses. Let's run that down again, because I know
that's worth $508 if they have the full $25,000. That's worth $508 today's tax dollar.
But aren't most of us that are in private business, most of us that own our own business, have $25,000 of value?
No. 82.4% of you have less than $25,000.
So how much is that actually going to save not only the citizens of up to $508, or what did you say,
if you had a full $25,000, it would save you $25,000 worth of tangible personal property. Last year, your tax bill on average would have been $508. So it's proportionally lower depending on what the value of your equipment is. But it's going to save taxpayers $5.7 million or close to it in our office, because we will cut our budget and all our employees are cross-trained and transfer those positions to other open jobs.
Well, let me ask you something. We talk about that because there are a lot of individuals that sit there and say, well, this is going to cost me here. Really, this money is not a lot here, but another $500 and change. But at the end of the day, the taxpayers are going to save almost $6 million that you can transfer into other positions. So the so-called budget cutting that everybody's talking about may not be budget cutting.
Well, no, we're going to do what we did. When we know it's coming, what we did is, in our office, we're hoping that technology takes over through attrition, because we had no technology. So as we get it, will be less labor intensive. But right now, if people resign, retire, move away, get fired, all those kind of things happen. So through attrition, we just hold those jobs. We started holding them January 1st. There's a couple of essential positions that we're going to have to fill, but we'll hold them, and then what we do is those employees in the department we cut, we transfer in. Like I closed 6 district offices and never let an employee go. I simply transferred them to other jobs and gave them the chance to learn something new. Now, if you don't want to take advantage of that chance, then it's a different conversation we'll have.
Well, I mean, obviously, someone that's been there for 20, 25 years, they may only want to do what they have been doing, but there comes a point in time that maybe through technology or other changes, that position is phased out. I mean, I would think that if you don't want to learn something new, then maybe it is time to retire.
Well, you know what it is? All our employees, once I came, it didn't matter how long you'd been there, were given 2 years to become state-certified appraisers.
And actually, you've done well with that because the rate has gone up so much.
Well, we had 8, and now we have 191.
Cool, and you've only been there for a few years, huh?
3 years.
All right, next, coming up for re-election soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, listen.
I was there 3 years in January.
Lori Parrish is my guest today, Broward County Property Appraiser. It's President's Day 2008. Our number is 888-565-1470. One segment left. Lori, your number at work, your email?
954-357-6830. And my email is Lori, Lori, at bcpa.net.
What's the most important thing in your life? Your health? Your family? What about your credit? Having good credit can mean the difference between enjoying life and living a constant nightmare. Get on the road to financial freedom today. Go to the Credit Restoration Consultants website at talkaboutcredit.com. At talkaboutcredit.com, you'll see how CRC can help restore your credit today. You can check your credit score. You can apply for new credit cards even if you've had credit problems. Plus, you'll get a ton of must-have information about how your credit score affects you. Learn more about credit scores and how they affect your ability to obtain premium rates on that new car, home, or refinance. Got a problem with 20% interest rates on your credit cards? Go to talkaboutcredit.com. Learn how to interpret credit scores and correct any problems. Plus, you can order your 3-in-1 credit report directly from CRC without a hard-hit inquiry. Check out the Credit Restoration Consultants website at talkaboutcredit.com. That's talkaboutcredit.com. Or call 954-581-5050. That's 954-581-5050. You are listening to the Credit Restoration Consultants Hour with your host, Bill Lewis. If you have any questions about today's program, call us live on the air. From Boca, Deerfield, and Delray, dial 988-5470. That's 988-5470. And from all other areas, call toll-free 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470. Now, once again, here's Bill Lewis.
All right, President's Day 2008. Today, my guest is Lori Parrish, Broward County Property Appraiser. Lori, today we're talking about Amendment 1, the new amendment, the new constitutional amendment that was passed on January 29th. I mean, it was overwhelming support, especially here in Broward.
64.5% statewide and 71% in Broward.
I wonder how much the 71% in Broward versus 64.5 statewide actually helped cover this, because, I know it was such a wide margin.
Well, it won in every county but about 6 or 7. It lost in Leon County, where our capital, Tallahassee, is. I would assume there are so many government employees. They thought it was, job security vote no. It lost in some other small counties like Glades,
yeah, but
Levi.
Glades County is such a small county. It's a big county.
Well, yeah, it lost 1,800 to 1,300 or 900 to 700. No, but it overwhelmingly won in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County, and we have lots of voters.
Well, we talk about this because obviously the portability, that's changed, whereas there was no portability before. Now you can move, you can actually afford to either upsize or in some cases downsize. Explain downsizing. What does that mean for somebody? Because I know we talked about that. But
a lot of times, and it's widows or widowers. It's someone who's lost his or her spouse. They've got the family home kids grew up in. It's sexist, but, Jeff usually does the outside, I do the inside, that kind of thing. It's a partnership. Well, somebody doesn't want all the responsibility, so the kids are gone. So they would sell that property, and a lot of families or the surviving spouse are moving to a townhouse or villa or condominium that's gated with security because they're alone and feel better about it. When that happens, you take your portability amount, and then it has to be below, you buy a product below your just value on our website, and then it's your percentage of Homestead. Like you could almost take your Save Our Homes value and divide it by your just value, and you get a percentage, and that would be the amount, the percentage of portability you could take with you to downsize.
Now, what happens if I downsize within that equation, that percentage? Does that mean I have essentially no tax or a severely reduced tax?
You would have a reduced tax because, say, if it was 50%, say you paid $100,000 and we assessed it at $85,000, and then you got 50%, you would get $42,500 off, so you'd be paying $42,500, your taxable value, but you take your homestead exemption of $25,000. Do you see what I mean? And then that would be on the balance, so you'd be paying on about $18,500.
All right, so at that rate, then obviously I have a much lower. So those individuals.
But I don't think you're going to find a lot of products for $100,000 either.
Well, but obviously that's for equation purposes. But then again, a lot of the properties that individuals will be downsizing have come from very substantial homes. You mentioned husband or somebody passing away. Obviously.
Well, a lot of times, a lot of times the surviving widow, husband's pensions privately are not always inheritable by the widow. So the widow is drawing on her husband's Social Security, but that amount could be $791.
Right, which doesn't pay anything.
They can't afford the home.
Well, how do you add the kids to the title? It's a big question out there. How do you add children to a title of a home and still protect your homestead exemption? That Save Our Homes value and make sure that you don't squirt.
Okay, for estate planning purposes, a lot of people like to add their kids just in case. And the simplest way to do that is by a quick claim deed. It could say, like, from Bill and Mary Smith to Bill and Mary Smith and their son John and their daughter Lori. You could do it like that. You can do a quick claim deed. Instead of writing $10 good and valuable considerations, you would write for love and affection. That avoids you paying 70 cents per $100 for 50% of the mortgage. And if you do that, I'm not an attorney, I'm an accountant, but that I know that this is correct.
That's what I tell people all day. I'm not an attorney, and although I play one on TV, nothing on the show is meant to be legal advice.
Anyway, if you do that, you maintain your Save Our Homes and your homestead, and it allows, if anything should happen to you or your spouse, it allows the children to inherit the property without going through probate.
Very interesting.
And estate taxes.
So essentially, at the end of the day, the kids will end up owning the property just upon your personal passage.
Right. But what you do when you do that, you better make sure you can count on your kids because you can't sell it without their signature.
Interesting indeed. And some kids out there might just want to remember you from past days.
So, you know, there are all sorts of, that's the simplest, easiest, most cost-effective way, but it does have some drawbacks.
All right. Now, obviously, the homestead exemption, refiling it, if you move, even whether you're taking advantage of these programs or not, you still always have to refile. The homestead is only for that home. If you move, you must reapply on your new home because you have to change your voter's registration and driver's license to reflect the address at the new home. Now, some of the offices you have, you indicate obviously that your office is open downtown from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. 5 days a week. You're open 5 Saturdays a year, depending upon the time
including
of
this next Saturday from 8:30 to 5, downtown in Fort Lauderdale, and at our plantation office, which is 1 North University Drive. It's on the northwest corner of Broward Boulevard and University Drive. We're open there as well.
Now, I know in the past you've done the community outreach sessions at Representative Jack Siro's office. Do you still do that?
We do those all over. We're at Weston Town Center. We're outside the ball fields. We're outside before city commission meetings. We go to, is it the Palace in Weston, homeowners association, schools, anywhere they'll have us, temples, churches.
Now, you know, as the Broward County Property Appraiser, I mean, what requires you to do this? I mean, these outreach programs. I mean,
nothing. What we're trying to do is, we know if people, we want to make it as convenient for families as possible. So if you're taking the kids to a ball game or you're going to the homeowners association meeting, we take a card table and a chair if you don't have them, and a wireless laptop and a portable printer, and we just, you know, the Sun Sentinel has been very nice to us to announce that where we're going to be. And we just go set up, and people bring their information and apply for Homestead while they're already doing something else. They're not having to make an extra trip.
Well, I've noticed, you know, when I've been downtown or have been downtown in the past as late as a couple of weeks ago, you even had that little children's play area there so you can have your kids come and hang out.
We encourage you to bring the kids. In fact, we think it's sort of funny because lots of them cry that they don't want to leave the park. You know, they want to stay at our office. Our office is family friendly, and including today we're working, so if any of our employees had a problem because schools are closed today, they're more than welcome to bring their kids to school. We ask them to bring a little something to entertain them and make sure if they're not going to walk them to McDonald's to lunch, you know, that they bring something for them to eat and snack on.
Now, in wrapping up the show today, you know, we talk about you going out and reappraising the properties. What's state law? I mean, obviously state law requires your office and each property appraiser to check out physically every property every 5 years. I mean, that's something I've never seen here in Broward. I mean,
it's never been done in Broward, and we are in the process. My standard is we will do it every 3 years. But one of the reasons we're having to do it every 3 years and use their old standard is because we didn't have anything. So we want to make sure our records are updated. But state law requires every property appraiser in the state of Florida to reassess every property on January 1st. I happen to disagree with that. Other states do 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, but that's a Florida law.
How do I know if somebody from your office is not out there pulling a scam? Well, actually, not from your office pulling a scam, but how do I know it's somebody from your office and not somebody pulling a scam? I mean,
okay, anybody in our office that comes out, first of all, has to have on a uniform shirt that says property appraiser, must be wearing an orange vest, a brilliant orange vest that says property appraiser and our phone number on the back.
Is that one of those traffic cone vests that you see out there?
Right, and has property appraiser and our phone number to call right across the back of it. Has an ID card and a badge that shows it's a Broward County property appraiser. Our people are never allowed to go inside your home.
Okay,
never.
So nobody will ever go inside the home. They just
and
walk
nobody
around
will
the property.
ever walk in your yard without your permission.
Okay, now if I'm not home, will they still go back there, or they just have to seek permission first?
Well, what they do is if you have a gate up and it says beware, we will never open the gate, we won't go in. We'll just leave a card and find out when we can come back. We'll just leave a note for you. Somebody will call or email our office and let us know when we can come back.
So for those individuals out there that do get a visit from your office, if they're not wearing an orange vest, if they do not have the uniform shirt, if they do not have the ID card, or if you have any reason to suspect that somebody even wearing all this information
call
is
954-357-6830. 954-357-6830.
So you're able to answer the questions even before I'm able to finish asking them. Do you get that question a lot?
No, but the other thing, if it's raining, we could have a windbreaker on, but it'd be a khaki color across the back in big orange letters. It says property appraiser.
Now, these appraisers, these individuals coming out to the house, they won't be offended, obviously, because if they are for real, they appreciate the fact that you're checking on them.
That's
right?
fine. They don't know.
Not going to get that extra knock-in value there that you know.
No, they don't do any of those things.
Just checking.
They would protect their families no differently than we expect the public to be protective of their own families.
All right, Lori, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for coming on this morning, talking about the Broward County Property Appraiser's Office Amendment 1.
Thanks for having me. We appreciate it.
Hey, we're going to have you on again. Lori, your telephone number and email address again for those 13 or 14 listeners that are tuned in.
954-357-6830, and my email is lori@bcpa.net. Lori@bcpa.net.
All right, Bill Lewis here. Remember, we are here on the 9s, Monday through Friday.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I got to go out for another cup of coffee. On the 9s, Monday through Friday, right here, 1470 WWNN. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, concerns, give us a ring at 954-581-5050. If you caught this show late, want to tune in again, 9 o'clock tonight, right here on 1470 WWNN.
Thanks for listening to the Credit Restoration Consultants Hour with credit restoration expert Bill Lewis. Credit Restoration Consultants has offices located in the Sawgrass Business Plaza at 13790 Northwest 4th Street, Suite 111 in Sunrise, Florida. If you are having credit problems, if your bills are out of hand, or if you just want a credit checkup, call Bill Lewis today at 954-581-5050. That's 954-581-5050. Or go online to talkaboutcredit.com. That's talkaboutcredit.com. And be sure to join Bill every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. for the Credit Restoration Consultants Hour. As a credit service organization, Credit Restoration Consultants is not a law firm. None of its employees is an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Florida. Moreover, CRC cannot provide legal advice or represent any individual in any legal proceeding. Should you require legal representation, please contact the Florida Bar for an appropriate referral. The opinions expressed on the sponsored program are strictly those of its host, guests, and callers and are not necessarily those of the station, staff, management, or sponsors.